And before we talk about you coming back, was there ever a time where you were seriously considering coming back to wrestling for anybody?
No. I love you guys to death, but there was not 1 second that I seriously thought about coming back. There was no reason to. I mean, for me, I went out winning, beating arguably one of the biggest, baddest dudes on the planet, WrestleMania. I mean, a big stage. I didn't care whether they booed or not. For me, it was an accomplishment to make it there, to be there for only 1 year, and then to be leaving, fighting their biggest, baddest dude and beating him. After that, I didn't, it's all about the legacy that you leave or the impression that you leave when you're trying to do something. I didn't want to downgrade it. I was very lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, and I had the right people, coaching me along, and some of the wrong people, but I didn't listen to them. But I really didn't have a reason to go back. I didn't need it financially. I didn't need it emotionally. And there comes this little guy named Gage. And I had a reason to go back. I had a wife who had no flippin' idea who I was when we met, who had never seen me wrestle, who thought she was doing a movie with Jeff Goldblum. And when Bill Goldberg, first of all, she goes on set, and she goes, "Where's Jeff Goldblum?" And they're like, "Who? You mean Goldberg?" And she goes, "I swear to you," she's in the back, ask her, "Who the hell is that?" And then they say, "Oh, he's a famous wrestler." She goes, "Oh, you mean that fake crap?" I'm like, wow, this is great. I got a really uphill climb on this one. She had a rule. No, she wouldn't date professional athletes, stuntmen, or actors. Good thing I was dressed as Santa Claus at the time, huh?
So the 2K deal comes around, and the year before, or 2 years before, Sting had done the 2K, and then out of that came a match. And then you did the 2K deal, and then in the advert, there's a little bit where in the glint of the mirror, there's Suplex City, and the T starts, you're there SummerSlam weekend doing interviews, and then you come back. What did it take for you to come back? You mentioned, obviously, you had your son. But
it took 18,000 calories a day and working out 6 days a week, 3 times a day. It took my little boy for me to come back. It did. It took my beautiful wife and the support that I got from her to come back. Obviously, 2K had been asking WWE and Vince for years about putting me in the video game, and they turned it down. They turned 2K down every year. And I don't, they say that sometimes, the wounds heal over time, and I think they did. I think it was obviously also a nice coincidence that Brock was on the cover, and he'd never beaten me before. So I don't have one foot in the grave, and I ain't no, person who's out of shape, and I compete, man. I always try to stay ready for whatever it is. Now, granted, I wasn't 285 like I was, back when I was 30. But, I was in some spectacular shape for a normal human. I was training Muay Thai 3-4 days a week. I was going hard, but I was like 245. I was light. And I never thought in a million years I'd even consider coming back, and I never thought that my body could take what it took to get back. I didn't think I could go through that again. And lo and behold, we do the press conference for 2K, the last one, the day before that pay-per-view in August. And Brock was there, and that was, the next night they had the pay-per-view. And Brock did what he did to Orton, and the crowd started chanting my name because I was in town. Everybody knew that I was in town for the press conference for 2K, so they thought, oh, he's in town for the press conference. Pretty ironic that the pay-per-view is the next, Goldberg's coming out to save somebody. Well, they were chanting my name, and nobody ever came. minutes because Goldberg wasn't supposed to come out and save anybody. But it gave them an idea, I believe. It gave them a direction, and it gave them an alternative to what they were doing. And I think it gave them a reason to maybe, I don't know, see if it still would be worth having me lace up the boots again and come back and try to get people to watch TV. For me, it was an opportunity to give my family something that I never could give them again because I wasn't in control of where I worked at that time. I couldn't, I'm sure as hell not going to pick up the phone and ask somebody for a job. That is never going to happen. And it was such an opportunity that I put everything else aside and I worked extremely hard to make it to a point where I could look myself in the mirror and be proud of, at least at 50 years old, I was in pretty decent shape compared to other 50-year-old guys. Now, I paled in comparison to the bowling balls that were on my shoulders when I was back in the business back in the day. But, all the punches and kicks and the headbutts and all that stuff and all the torn muscles, and that takes a toll. And so when you're older, it's tough to be able to throw that kind of weight up to get that size. That and doing cardio would just make the weight just completely melt off of me. So I had to completely stop doing cardio. And I had to eat, like I said, between 15 and 18,000 calories a day. I'd eat every 2 hours. I trained 3 times a day, 6 days a week. I'd lift in the morning. I'd do my Muay Thai in the afternoon. I'd train at night. And, I'd eat every 2 hours. I had 5 to 6 shakes a day with, it was disgusting. I mean, I just couldn't. I love food, but I was a machine. And unfortunately, I'd overtrained so much because I had a limited window. I had, ironically, when I got the call and came back, I had a very short period of time. They originally wanted me to wrestle in January. Well, we know that changed. So I had half the time to actually get ready. So I'm moving ahead, but I never thought it would happen. But it was that press conference and that meeting with Brock that night, and I think Vince having the realization that there was still something there. I think that pushed it over the edge. And like I said, my family is the reason why I put my nose to the grindstone and made it happen.
And then you come back in October on Raw, and WWE brought a lot of guys back in the past to varying degrees of success, and a lot of times they'll be like, he's not as good as he used to be, or whatever. And then you come back, and I think it surprised everybody how much it connected with everybody. And there's this moment that even the toughest people would probably get a little bit choked up at, where the camera cuts to your wife, and she just kind of like puts her hand here because she finally got to see what you did.
Well, yes and no. The reason why she did that, and this hasn't been told anywhere else, I don't think, the reason why she did that is because over the past, the time that she had known me prior to getting back into the business, I had such a negative attitude towards the business. I had such a chip on my shoulder. I had such, it wasn't good. It wasn't good karma. So when she put her hand over her heart, it was that was gone. It's that I could finally be at peace. And that was stricken from my plate. Not that she sees me running around the house in my underwear all the time. Throwing people around all the time. But, was that a guy? Okay. I do a lot of things, but not that. But yeah, that was it. And she actually told that to Vince at one point and thanked him, for the opportunity for me to wipe that off my plate, for me to be at peace. And for her to see me at peace was very cool for her. I mean, that's what melted her heart. That's what made her the happiest, was to see me bury that hatchet. And obviously watch our little boy rip his shirt off and try to crawl into the ring, which was hilarious. But and then he dabs in the ring. the hell's that? I mean, seriously. He knew how bad that pissed me off beforehand, and then he gets in the ring, and I hold his hand up, and he does. Don't anybody, if you took a picture of that, put that freaking phone down. Don't you ever tell anybody I did that and or was even talking about it. I'm going to eat your phone. But yeah, man, he did that. I wanted to kill him. It's hilarious. I hate that stuff. But all that is, hey, look at me. That's all it is, you know. We don't need that. We don't need that. People looking at you anyway. You got your shirt off, you're 11, and you're in the ring, and you're with me. Don't do that. But, you know, it was awesome, man. It satiated a lot of things. Gave me the ability to be a cool dad, because that little kid hates me other than me being in a wrestling, outfit. It gave me the ability to squash the animosity that I had. And it gave me the ability to show my wife kind of what I did. And it gave me the ability to hopefully connect with a new group of fans. So, I mean, it accomplished a lot of things. I mean, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I was the luckiest guy in the world when I beat Hogan after 6 months of being in the business. I'm the luckiest guy in the world to be given an opportunity by a guy like Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon to go back at 50 flipping years old and, you know, be worthy, hopefully, of holding that Universal title for a short period of time.